Hello, everyone, and today I am joined by Anthony Clifton from DeKalb County, Alabama. Anthony is a great friend of mine. I actually have known him longer than he's known me. I was a student before I was a friend. I actually go all the way back to CDP when I very first started as a responder. He was one of my instructors, but we got to actually know each other at EMI, where he was also one of my instructors. But we got to become friends when we were both students at CDP in the same class. Anthony has a huge background in emergency management, stuff that he's done for the county, that's done for the emergency management industry in general, and he is looked upon by many as a mentor and as someone who is going to help push the professional forward. So I'd like to thank you and welcome Anthony to the show.
Thanks so much, Dan. It's good to be here. The high praises sound more worthy than I actually am. I appreciate those fine words. And
well, there are many that would disagree, and ultimately, having been a student of yours first, you helped shape where I am today and how my interest in emergency management grew. Because like I said, I was a responder who transitioned into emergency management as their full-time role, and a lot of that came from learning about emergency management via your instruction. So I can personally speak on the fact that I would not be where I am without the guidance that you provided, not only at CDP but EMI, but also in your personal friendship. But I want to dive right into what it is that you do there for the county, and what kind of program you got in place, and how we can learn from your experiences.
Well, here where I live is in DeKalb County, Alabama. We are a county of about 70,000 people, covered over about 700 square miles, almost 800 square miles. And we have a major interstate. Interstate 59 runs through our county, north and south. And we have a major railroad. Norfolk Southern runs mainline track through our county. We've got 5 state highways, U.S. highway, and we have an all jurisdictions, all hazards planning methodology, and that goes pretty much for the way we do things. We practice for 17 municipalities, and those municipalities, many of them are small. I've got 26 volunteer fire departments I deal with. We do planning for everybody. We do hazard mitigation planning for everybody, and we do response for everybody. Here in Alabama, we are the response agency for environmental purposes for the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, which falls under our LEPC duties. So we stay busy. Some of the project right now, we're in the middle of a new radio project. We are still living back in the 70s, in the Stone Age of communications. We're bringing that into the 20th century, maybe not the 21st, but at least we're going to get into the 20th century. We're trying to put in a P25 countywide radio system. We're updating our CAD system and all the dispatch centers, and so that's been heavy on my plate through the spring. And of course, there's a lot of we've been working heavily on grants to secure funding for that. It's been a rough ride getting all the responders together and trying to get everybody to agree on one thing at one time. But after 10 years of work, we are finally there. And so I'm excited about that. We're in the process of rewriting plans. We're redoing our hazard mitigation plan. This is the year to update our emergency operations plan. So there's lots of stuff lots of plates spinning out there.
So when it comes to continual development and developing others, you're pretty active in as an instructor and a student, but you're pretty active at the Center for Domestic Preparedness as an instructor and at the Emergency Management Student Instructor. How does that help you in your current job functions?
Well, there's no way you can, I believe there's no way that you can really be successful in any industry, in any job, without being a continuous learner, a lifelong learner. I enjoy going to classes. I really enjoy students. I enjoy standing in front of people. I have never, ever done any kind of education where I've not learned something on either side of the podium, either as a student or as an instructor. You always learn something every time you stand up, no matter how many times you do it. And I am active. I teach right now currently in the basic and advanced academies for EMI. We've got this year, or FY23, I will be doing advanced academy up in Connecticut, of all places. They're sending me to Connecticut. My accent may not work well up there, but we'll get through it. This year I've been in Tennessee, and we did two virtual offerings of Advanced Academy. So that was very enjoyable. Still work at the CDP. I do the short classes there. I do 2 and 3 day classes there, primarily in healthcare. By trade, I'm a recovering paramedic, and so I still have my license, and I still keep it current, so I can teach. I'm not actively working in the field other than doing some rescue squad work. I'm still active with the local rescue squad and do work for them, but professionally, I'm not practicing in that capacity. We do spend a lot of my off time I spend training, and in one capacity or the other. There are a couple of things that I still want to do. We're working toward getting more prepared for hazardous materials, particularly radiological emergencies. We are a WIP county, waste isolation pilot project, where they move radioactive material from the East Coast to Carlsbad, New Mexico, where it's buried. So we have that. That's another thing we have found that we have to be prepared for. And so I'm in the process of trying to learn about radioactive materials.
So I'd like to, just take, because I'm a proponent of the Emergency Management Professionals Program, the basic, the advanced, and the executive. I'm a student of all three, which was amazing experience, and I'm a huge promoter of the programs itself. Those programs that you're teaching, do you think COVID aided in bringing them more available, making them virtual, or do you think they are more beneficial in the in-person in-class teaching?
Well, from the offerings I've done, both virtual and in person, I think virtual education is here to stay. That's a good thing that came out of COVID. If there can be a good thing that can come out of something like that, and I believe what we're going to see in the future is probably some blending of in-person and virtual courses together. That's my personal opinion. I've not heard that from Dr. Garrett. I heard that from Mr. Kuhn, who's the program manager. That's just my belief. I think there's enough demand out there, and it's very hard. Those are not easy programs, neither the basic, the advanced, nor the executive. Those programs are rather intense. The virtual offerings were better than we expected them to be, but my belief is that some of it can be virtual, and the student, however, we found on the evaluations that the students prefer to be in person. The thing about going to EMI, or the thing about going to any of the consortium members, whether it be the CDP or CERTSI in Colorado or testing grounds in Nevada or New Mexico, wherever, any of the consortium members, I believe they are good experiences to have, primarily from the networking opportunities, just like you and I. Chances are we would not have connected as we have had it not been for our experiences together in those training locations. It's just a lot easier to form those friendship bonds. And, you know, I depend on you being mentoring me and vice versa. I mean, we are mutual mentors to each other. You fit my weak points and you improve my strong points. And so by being a mentor, it allows me to get out there and be active in the profession and really try to advance the profession on a larger scale. I think we are going to see more regional offerings of at least the advanced academy. A lot of the basic academy has moved to regional offerings or even state offerings. There's enough instructors out there now that there's enough to go around to have that. But in the advanced academy, we continue to add more and more regional offerings. I believe Region 3 and Region 1 have been added this year. We've had several offerings in California. We continue to have them in Region 10. So there's a lot. They're opening up more opportunities to have students not have to travel so far to get that experience. And even an original experience, it's not a national audience, but we had, for example, in Tennessee, we had an Alaskan, young lady from one of the tribal communities traveled to Tennessee to do advanced academy, and that was a great experience. Actually got to, she brought some, I guess you would call it pickled whale blubber. And that was an interesting experience. But you know, that's part of what you do, is you learn and you connect with each other. And that's the biggest part of what we do, is that networking to build our community.
Well, that's an experience that I would not regret not having. But I 100% agree. You know, both are valuable, but it's the in-class stuff that I really enjoy, because the networking that you walk away with is amazing. But I want to we're going to wrap up this segment of it, but I want to wrap it up with the question to you is, do you think COVID slowed emergency management down or sped emergency management up?
That's an excellent question. The answer that I have is I don't know. I believe it's yet to be determined. I think it really brought out a lot of areas of deficiency. I think it's going to be interesting to see a lot of the AARs that come out of this in the way things are done. For us personally here in the county, it really put a spotlight on us because we are rural, and but we do have a relatively large population for a rural area. So we had to really plunge into it fast and heavy. And by doing so, it allowed us to get out in the community and work more. People saw more of what we were capable of. We brought out capabilities that we had. We developed capabilities that we didn't have, and we tried to develop those quickly. We had a semi-good plan in place that like any plan, you know, every plan is perfect until you meet the enemy, and that's what happened to us. We had what we felt like was a good plan, an adequate plan. Turned out that it was not as good as we thought it was. It was not as fast as we thought it was. So we had to adjust fire down range and make some very quick adjustments to it. But overall, we were more prepared than I believed that we were in, say, March of 20. By the time that we got into it with all of the testing sites and all of the vaccination sites, we organized well, and we came together. The community came together and supported us. And so I think that it brought out a lot of things for emergency management to the public that they had not seen before. They were depending on us for a lot of public information, a lot of warning. They were depending on us for a lot of logistics and operations. And we found that we worked and played well with public health, which made things a lot better. There were some areas of the country that were not as prepared. There were large population areas that were just overwhelmed because of the sheer numbers that they had to deal with was a nightmare. But we have come through it, and now that we're on the other side, we have that ability to look back, and if we are smart and take those lessons learned and apply them to practice, we'll be light years ahead when the next bug rears its ugly head. And there will be another bug. It may be 100 years, but there will be something else that will pop up, and that is my pure belief. So we have to be able to quickly respond to those challenges. And as we learn, this can happen not just in a matter of months, it can happen in a matter of weeks or days, that we have to very quickly ramp up and get our operations running. So I believe the answer to the question is, like I say, yet to be determined about how well the community receives us in the future. We have, I think, overall, as emergency management in America, by embracing that whole community effort, we've done good. Now we're looking at lifelines and going to that philosophy, and I believe that will help solidify our position. And you got to remember, we're still, as emergency managers, we're still a relatively young profession, and that will I think our future is yet to be defined, and we're working hard to do that. A lot of growing pains have gone along with that, moving from the days of civil defense, then to that emergency management model, then to Homeland Security and having more input into that. And unfortunately, my personal belief is that our future may lie in more of that old-fashioned civil defense philosophy. These supply chain issues that keep following us out of COVID have really magnified those issues that revolve around supply chain and what happens. So I think that we have to be prepared for the time that may come when we get into rationing gas, rationing food, rationing or into points, at least points of distribution. Because when you have those kind of supply chain issues rear their ugly head, we could be in trouble really quick if we're not prepared for that.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a growing concern that many are not watching or preparing for. So, that's a great point. And I want to second that. And I also want to take a second, because I've heard that before, that we should, emergency management should take a look at going back to the civil defense type way of doing things, and uniformity as well. And that's an area that is of great debate and is always being discussed somewhere. So it's a great point that you bring up, that, and it's a conversation, and that will not stop until a decision has been made on what we're going to do and where we go. But one of the things that I keep saying is that everybody keeps saying that emergency management's in its infancy. Well, we're 50 years old now, so we need to start growing. And we're looking at Baby Yoda type age here. He was 50, but he's still a baby, but he's walking. He's starting to grow. So we need to start growing. We need to start branching out. We need to start having our growing pains. And we're going to stumble. We're going to fall, like most toddlers do.
Absolutely, we saw that. We saw that with the CMS rule that came out in 2017. where hospitals really help all 17 areas of healthcare began to look at emergency management that they had not been forced to look at before. But the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, made that a requirement that they have planning, and not just planning, but it had to be community-based planning. And so we're seeing that growth slowly but surely, and it's making things more complicated for us as emergency managers, but at the same time, it's growing the profession. And we're seeing emergency management fill into those gaps where before there has been no call to action for everybody to really work and play well together. The fire service was the fire service. Law enforcement was law enforcement. In our world, those two things blend, and then we throw in third service EMS. We throw in public works. We throw in environmental management. Then of course, on top of that, we add the whole mitigation piece. We add the recovery piece. We are becoming the hub of a very large wheel, and our tentacles reach out into all parts of the community. And so we have to take that into consideration as we're doing preparedness activities.
Fantastic point. Thank you. Well, I want to wrap this section up by saying thank you and for your time. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for letting us take a peek at your county operations. And as always, it's great to talk to you. Then we're going to come back after a quick break where we're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about emergency management and its future and how we can better equip the emergency management professional, emergency management practitioner to be better leaders.